Hello there, it's Osei here once again, and welcome to OB Learning Hub. Well, I miss seeing you all, and it's great to be back. In today's video, we will be using Microsoft Excel to create a simple yet basic waste collection tracker software to enable us to track our waste generation index. And if you are in the health and safety sector or the oil and gas business, this video will be very helpful to you to enable you track how much waste you are generating each and every month and find a remedy for it. Well, the tutorial material has been included in the description section, so you can always download it to follow along in today's tutorial. And also, I have included timestamps in the description also, so you can always feel free to jump to anything in particular you would like to know in this video. Always be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and kindly share to support the channel. Well, what are we waiting for? Shall we? And so with just this data given, we can create our waste collection tracker for each and every month. And so to do that, first and foremost, let's do what's important. Let's save our work. So let's rename our work to the waste collection tracker. So that's how the name of our work will be, the waste collection tracker. And let's simply save it. And also, let's rename our sheet. Let's rename this sheet to data. And since it's a collection tracker for each and every month, let's add more sheets so that at least we can create some basic data input for each and every month to enable us create some form of visual representation for each and every month. So let's do that. Then let's rename our sheets to January through to December. So I'll quickly do that. So you can also do same. So now we have a sheet for each and every month. So what's next is to now make the very data input for each and every month. And so to do that, we can do it simply one by one, but that will obviously take a lot of our time. So let us simply select the entire sheet. So selecting January and holding down the shift key, we'll move to December and simply click on it. And as you can see, all the sheets have been selected. So now let's give each and every worksheet a title. So let us simply select the entire row over here. Then let's merge it up and give it a title, the waste collection. So we'll give it a title, waste collection. Waste collection for, for January. Don't worry, it will affect the entire thing, but as we move through each and every sheet, we can simply make that correction or adjustment. So if you have to simply click through all the months or the sheets, as you can see, the title or the heading appears over here. Then what's next will be now to bring in our subheadings or our headings for each and everything we would like to present. So first, obviously, let's talk about the SN, that's the serial number for it. Then also let's talk about the waste item. So we'll talk about the waste item that is being generated. Then also let us also bring in the number of bins allocated or designated for each and every of the waste item. Then also we ask ourselves, was the waste collected for the very month we are talking about? Was the waste collected? So we'll simply do that. Then obviously let's bring in the yes or no. So over here we'll bring in a function where we can simply do that. So is it a yes or a no? Let us correct this. Was the waste collected? Let us correct this. Yes or no, not yes. Question mark no. Then also we would ask ourselves the number of times it was collected. So the number of times the waste was collected. So number of times collected, the number of times collected. Then also the next thing we would like to talk about will be the weight. So the weight of the very waste. So obviously we'll have the measurement or the unit in kilograms. Then if it was collected more than once or twice, we would obviously need to bring in its second weight. And if it was collected more than 3 or 4 times, you can always add it over here per the observations you've made in your waste generation for your company. So we'll add another weight over here. So let us put in the weight 2, then bring in the space. Then the next thing we would like to add also will be the status. So during the pickup of the waste, what was the state or the status of the waste? Was it over here? We'll bring in some conditions to at least allocate to each and every one of them. Then we would like to also bring in what we call the rank. So per the status of the waste, we would like to just assume a rank for it to enable us calculate for the what, for the waste generation index. So over here, the rank, or simply the rank of the what, the status of the waste. Then the next thing we would like to talk about over here will be the what, the waste generation index. So the waste generation index. So this one we would like to have it in a percentage form. So let's do that, percentage. Then the next thing will be the amount paid. So over here, the amount paid, we generally give a total amount for all the waste collected. But over here, we would like to make it amount paid in assumption, depending on the waste generated, the amount that will simply be allocated for each and every one per the total amount paid. Then also over here, we would like to add the total weight. So the first weight plus the second weight will give us the total weight, obviously. Then the last thing we would like to add will be the month. So over here, we are simply adding the month, even though it is simply labeled here, so that during our analysis, it will be simpler for us to bring in our months. So these are the data we would, or these are the things we would like to know for our waste collection tracker. So let us simply make some little adjustments to it. Let us wrap it up. Then let us make some few adjustments to it, obviously, and let us align it well. Then let us simply do that. So if you are to go through each and every one of the sheets, you can see these adjustments would have been made or would have been done. So let us simply do that, these few adjustments. So let's go through each and every month. As you can see, if you have to click on each and every month, you can see it appears. If you would like to leave, or if you like to simply select one sheet, you can always hold down the shift key and select the sheet you want. So let us simply select January. So simply select January. Then as you can see, the titles are here: February, March, April, May, June through. So let us make some few adjustments to it again. Let us select the entire thing. Then also over here, let us give it some form of fill color. Let's give it some form of fill color, and the font color, let's make it yellow. Then over here, I will simply want to put it in a table form, but doing that won't be possible. Over here, let us make some few adjustments. Let us unmerge it again. Then let us merge it once again, and let's increase the font size, then give it a background color. And also let's change the font color also. Let's bolden and italize it. Okay, let's increase the font again. All right, okay, let's decrease the font. So moving on now, let us put this in a table form. But with this, we can't simply do it with the entire sheet selected. So first, I would like to simply select only January and do it alone. So I'll simply select January, and using the shortcut Control T, as you can see, this has appeared over here. And also my table already has a header, so I'll simply I'll check it and click on OK. And as you can see, my table has been spread all around over here. So let me simply make those little adjustments. So I'll simply do that. Okay, so now with these adjustments made, I would like to also make some few adjustments to my table also. And as you can see, as soon as this table was created, you can see this table design tab has appeared over here. I don't like the fill button over here. And also I would like to change the style of my table, so I would like it in this form. So I'll simply select it. Then over here also, now I would like to bring in my data. So over here, I'll simply reference it using the equal sign with the first cell selected. Then I'll go to the data and select this one. But before we do that, let us simply make some few adjustments over here. Or before we do that, let us put this in a table form also, so that in case there is data addition, it will affect our data inputs in the very months we are talking about. So let us simply make the adjustment. So I'll simply create this. Okay, so let me simply make these few adjustments also. Let me simply align them well. All right. So now let me simply reference it. So I'll simply reference it using the equal sign. Then I'll come over here and simply press enter. As you can see, the number one has appeared over here. Let me simply drag it to bring in my waste item. Then over here, I'll simply drag it down. Then as you can see, my waste items or have appeared over here. As you can see, there isn't number 6, or there isn't any data available over there. So I'll simply get rid of that. Control minus to get rid of that. Then let us align it well. And also over here, the number of bins. So the number of bins allocated for each and every waste item, you can always state it over here. Obviously, it's a manual input, so we'll do that. So let's do that. Okay, then also over here, like I said, we would input in a function. So the function we would input over here will be the equal to if. So whenever you are beginning a formula or a function, obviously in Excel, you begin with an equal sign. So we are using the if function. And what do we want the if to tell us? So with the if appearing, we simply use the tab key. And with our logical test, we want to say that if this cell over here, so let's reference this cell, if the number of times selected is greater than, so is greater than or equal to 1. So obviously, if it is 1, it means it has been collected. If it is greater than or equal to 1, then if it is true, then what we want to return is what? Yes. But in the case that it is less than or not equal to 1, the statement we want it to appear will be a no. As you are wondering, why am I beginning with an apostrophe? So anytime you are starting it or you are typing a text in a formula in Excel, you begin with an apostrophe. So I'll simply click on OK. So as you can see, the function has appeared in all of the rest of the items. So that's one very benefit of the tables. So if you want to actually check whether your function is even working or your formula is working, let us simply input number 1 or the number 1. As you can see, it is working. 2, 3, 4, 5, as you can see, is working. Then over here also, we would like to, or let us put a restriction so that someone won't mistakenly input a number that isn't realistic, so that anytime your report or this software is being picked up, there wouldn't be a lot of questions being asked. So the restriction we want to put, so let us simply select the entire cell or the entire column where the waste is. Then let's go to the data tab. So the data tab, will simply go to the data tools and we'll simply click on the data validation. So let's validate it. So over here, we want instead of any value, what we want to input is a whole number. And the minimum we are talking about will be a 0. So 0 means nothing was picked. So obviously someone might mistakenly bring in a negative sign. And the maximum number of times. So over here, per your observation, you can always create the number of times the waste is being collected. And since the waste bin is very big, mostly is being picked up twice. So over here, you can always set your limit to 4. So I'm setting the limit to 4. So I'll simply click on OK. So in the case that someone is to simply come in over here and type in 100, as you can see, an error has come. So you have to retry. So an error has appeared. So let's simply click on 100 again. As you can see, an error. So we'll cancel. So over here, we've restricted it. And also, let's say 6 up. As you can see, we've restricted these ones. So you can always restrict certain things in Excel if you don't want people going overboard in your work. So now the weight obviously will be a manual input per the time it was collected. And over here, like I said, we are talking about the status. Whilst the waste was being picked, what was the status of it? So over here, let us go and create some form of assumptions. So let us go back to the data tab. Then over here, let's bring in the status. So the status of the waste, then its corresponding what rank. So now what we are trying to talk about is during the pickup time, the first assumption we want to make was the waste partially filled. So was the waste partially filled? So we'll simply bring in the first assumption partially filled. Then the next time it was picked, was it fully filled? So the next assumption was it fully filled? So we'll simply bring in this this one. Then the next assumption will be, was it overfilled? Overfilled. So these are the very assumptions we want what to make. So let us simply make these adjustments. So these are some of the things we would like to make. So let us give it. So if it was partially filled, we would like to give it a rank of 1. If it was fully filled, obviously 2. If it was fully overfilled, 3. Over here also, you have to make it a bit realistic so that the overfilled wouldn't, the rank for the overfilled wouldn't be less than the fully filled, because obviously if something is overfilled, obviously it goes way overboard. So always make this rank over here realistic when creating your collection tracker also. So now we've created this, let's also put this in a table form also. So let's do that and let's get rid of the filters. All right, so it's always, as I said, it's always good to put it in a table form so that in case of data addition, it will automatically reflect over here. So now let us bring in our status. So over here also we'll simply use the data validation again. So let's go to the data and go to the data validation and simply click on data validation. And over here, as usual, instead of any list or any value or whole number, we would like it to be a list. So we'll simply click on the list and it is asking for our source. So let's simply click on the up arrow and go to our data, and this is our source. So let's move this a bit and bring in our source and simply press enter and click on OK. So as you can see, this button has appeared over here. Over here you can simply use the button, or you can simply type in it will appear, then you simply click on it. So that's one advantage of this. Instead of typing, you can always use this button, or you can simply type in the first letter of the very status. So there is it. Then as you can see, the numbers aren't appearing over here. That's no worries, we can simply work on that. So over here also, we would like to bring in a function where in the function we would like to state that in the case that this status appears over here, then its corresponding rank should obviously also appear over here. So obviously you can always use the XLOOKUP or the VLOOKUP, but I would like to use the XLOOKUP. So we'll bring in our equal to again and bring in the XLOOKUP. Then let's bring in the XLOOKUP by pressing the tab key. Then it is asking for our lookup value. So the lookup value we are talking about will obviously be this one. Then where is our lookup array? Our lookup array, let's go to our data tab or our data sheet, then simply select this entire status over here. So this is our lookup array. Then it is asking that in case that the lookup value we are looking for is found, what do we want to return? So we want to return its corresponding rank. So I'll simply select the entire thing. Then I'll bring in the comma sign. If not found, what do I want to return, or what do we want to return? Let's bring in the number 0 so that in case of our calculation, we can simply do that without it returning errors. So now our formula is complete. We'll simply, or let us simply press the enter and see. So as you can see, it has returned some values. So as you can see, the partially filled returns one, fully filled. So in the case I'm to bring in overfilled over here, as you can see, it has returned its corresponding rank. So now with the waste generation index, it will be obviously a calculation. So let's bring in some form of data here so that we can make that calculation. And since is something I can do for the entire sheet, let me simply select my entire sheet. So I'll simply select the entire thing. And the details I would like to bring over here will be the total amount paid. So the total amount paid, total amount paid. Then the second one will be the total rank. So let's bring in the total rank over here. Then the last thing will be the waste index. So over here it will be the sum of this entire wage generation index. Obviously it will always be equal to 100%. So let us merge these ones. Let us merge them. Let us merge all these ones. Sorry, let's merge. Let's make the necessary changes to all of them. So we'll simply select the entire thing and let's make the necessary changes. Let's bold in and italize it. Then let us give it obviously the background color. Then the font color, let's change it to yellow. And also let's bring it up a bit. Okay. Oh, we selected this one. Let's get rid of the color over here. Then let's also make some few changes over here. So we'll give it a green color, and the font color, let's give it a deep green also. Then over here also with the total rank, obviously the total rank will be the total of this. So let us simply bring in the function, the sum, the sum function. So equal to sum. Then we would like to sum this all up. Let's press enter. Then the waste index. Okay, let's do this correction. Let's bring in its, so the waste index is a percentage form. So let's bring in that. Oops, make some few. Okay. All right. So the total amount paid will obviously be a manual input. So to do that, let's simply bring in the zero since nothing. But over here, we would like to bring in the currency. So let's bring in the dollar, but we are in Ghana, so we would like to bring in the CD sign. And as you can see, the CD symbol is not over here. So let us create our CD symbol. So let's get rid of this. Then bringing in the apostrophe, let's bring in the GHS, the Ghana CD, and bring in the space. Let's space it and bring in the hash sign. Is it the hash? Yes, it's the hash. Then bring in the comma, the double hash, then bring in a zero, then bring in a 0.00. So in case there's passwords attached, it will simply appear over here, I think. Okay, so as you can see, Ghana CD symbol has appeared. Let us make the few necessary changes to it. Okay, so now if you have to move through our sheet, as you can see, it appears over here, so that there is no need for us to do it one by one. So let's simply come back to our January. Then over here, what we'll do, so with the wage generation index, we can simply always use the equal sign to divide this. Okay, so we'll simply divide this by the total this and press enter. As you can see, it has given us what? A figure. Let us put it in the percentage form. Let's make it a double, or let's bring in a one decimal place. But we do not want this to appear over here, this division sign error. We don't want it to appear over here. So now let us introduce what? A formula, or yes, a function. So let us introduce the if function again. So what we want to introduce is if in case. So let's bring in the tab. If this very cell, okay, is greater than 1, then let's bring in this. Then if it is true, then we want to divide, then we want to do the actual division, right? And let's also simply, and let's make this our absolute, this very total rank our absolute, since we'll be dividing each and every one of the ranks with the total. So we'll bring in the dollar sign, so the double dollar sign. So we'll lock our column and row using the F4. So as you can see, our column and row has been locked. Then we'll bring in the comma also, and if it's not true, we will simply want to return what? The 0. So let's close our parenthesis, then simply press on enter. So as you can see, if there is no figure over here, it simply returns what? The 0.0%. So now let us do our calculation. So the waste index will obviously be equal to the sum. So we'll press the sum of all this. So the sum of all this, then simply press enter. But as you can see, this is not appearing. This is not appearing over here. So as you can see, the one still returns what? 0.0%. And this is due to the fact that we made a mistake, or we made a little error in our formula. So let us simply correct that. So over here, instead of saying is greater than 1, let us simply get rid of that and bring in 0. If it is greater than 0, then that's what we want to return. So as you can see, we have fixed our formula. And over here also, if you want to allocate an assumed amount for each and every one of this, obviously we'll bring in the formula. So equal to this very generation index times the total amount. Press enter. So as you can see, it appears over here. But then again, as you can see, there is a little bit of errors over, or there are some figures over here, even though no amount has been allocated. This is due to the fact that we didn't make this an absolute. We didn't make it a constant. So it is now doing what we call the relative referencing. So to fix that, let us come to our formula, then bring our cursor over here, then fix it. So we'll simply use the F4 to fix it, press enter. So as you can see, it is now working over here. Then over here also, since it is in currency, let us simply do that. Let's select the entire thing. Then coming to the numbers group, we'll simply click on the launch button and come to custom. Then over here, the custom, if you are to scroll down, we will find our Ghana Cedis symbol. Simply click on it and click on OK. As you can see, our Ghana Cedis appears over here. Then over here, the total weight will simply be equal to the sum. So we'll simply bring in the sum function again. Sorry, is Seraphim? Nope. Sum function. So it will be this weight plus this weight. So over here also, depending on the kind of waste bin you use and the number of times they are being collected, you can always add more weight to it. So simply press on OK. Then over here also, let us bring in our month. So we are talking currently about January. So we'll simply do that also. So we'll simply do that. So if you just joined us and you would like to follow along, the tutorial materials has been included in the description section. You can always download it and follow along. And if you would want the entire thing also, it has also been included in the description section so that you can review it and use it for your company. Maybe your company will give you a thumbs up and a salary raise for such a brilliant idea. That's fine. So now we are done with January, and obviously we would have to do for February, for March, for April through to December. That's one thing about the tables. You can't do it for all of them. So this is what will be done. And now we are simply done with everything. So what we'll do next will be to do it for March and April. So I'll simply do the same thing for all of them and get back to you. Hello and welcome back. I hope you're able to complete your data input. As you can see, I've completed mine. I have made some form of inputs to check my theory to see whether they are working, and indeed they are. So, but if you have to come out, if you have to look carefully, as you can see, some form of new status has been added. As you can see, if you have to click on this drop down list, you can see a whole lot of assumptions or a whole lot of status has been added or have been added. So if you want to do same also, or what I did was to come to my data sheet, and as you can see, my status, I have included these things in my status. And if you would want to do same also, you can always click on the overfilled, or you can always click over here. So let me quickly do some form of simulation for you to see. So over here, let me simply copy this. I'll simply copy it. So copy, then let me simply paste it over here. Paste it. Then let's put it in a table form. Okay. So over here, what I simply did was, rather than coming down to type it, because it's a theory I tested, if you have to simply come over here and type it, it doesn't really reflect in your table or in your data inputs. So what I did was to simply come over here to where the overfilled is, then, or I'll select where the overfilled is, and using the shortcut Ctrl+Shift+, as you can see, a new data sheet or data column has been added for you to make your input. So you can simply add as many columns or rows as possible to make your data input. So after creating this, then I made these inputs over here. So if it is partially filled both times, I gave it what, a rank of 4. If it was partially filled the first time and fully filled the second time, I gave it a rank of 5. Partially filled the first time and overfilled the second time, I gave it a rank of 6. If it was fully filled both times, a rank of 7. Fully filled the first time and overfilled, a rank of 8, and overfilled both times, a rank of 9. Per what, a realistic take. So this is what I did. So you can do same, and in case your beans or your waste is being collected several times in the month, you can make as many assumptions as possible. Obviously, there is no one coming over here to tamper with your data, so you can make the back end data. Then the person who will be using it obviously will always be the ones making the input. He or she doesn't care about the backend, so whatever. So that's it, by the way. So now we've done with all these inputs, we've make our assumptions, we've created all this. So what's left now is now to do what, to add them all together so that at least we can make our analysis. And obviously we can't simply copy paste. So what we'll do is to use or introduce the formula or the function, the VSTACK. Let me get rid of this sheet. This is not where I want it. So I'll simply get rid of it. Then selecting December, let me bring in a plus sign. So over here, let's rename this sheet to either the totals or the analysis. Let's rename it to the totals. So over here, we'll be adding what? So over here, we'll be adding our entire tables together so that we can create a pivot table out of it, then make our analysis and create our dashboard. So over here, like I said, let us give it a title, or first, let us first also bring in our headings. So first, let's bring this entire heading over here. So let's first bring in the entire heading. So Control C to copy. Then rather than using Control V, let us paste it special so that we can at least keep the source column with. So let's paste it over here. Then over here, like I said, we'll be introducing the formula or the function, the VSTACK function. But first, let us give a heading over here. So what we would like to input over here will be totals for waste collection. And over here also, we would create, or we would lock it up so that no one can tamper over here. So let us give it a background of Black Panther. Then also the color fill of yellow, and let's bolden it up and italize, and let us increase the font size. So totals for what? For waste collection. Oops, that's too much. Oh, that's too much. All right. Power overload. All right. So now I'll introduce the VSTACK function. So I'll simply bring in the equal sign and type in the VSTACK. So then bring in press the tab key. Then it is asking for our array. So the array we would like to have will be our these ones. So the entire table, excluding the headings, of course. So I'll bring in the comma sign, then the array 2. So we'll do it for the remainder of the month. So you can do same, and we'll get back together again. So kindly do it. Okay, so if you did same, or if you followed, this is what you'll be getting. So if you have to go through carefully, you'll find January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December for each and every of these waste item. So like I said earlier, if your waste items are more, you can always add it up then, or before doing this VSTACK function. So now let us make some few edits to our table. So this one is supposed to be in a percentage form. So let us do that. Let us give it, okay, a 1 decimal place. This also has to be in a currency form. So let us simply do that as quickly as possible. So where's my Ghana cedi? Okay, that's it. Simply click on it. Then that will obviously be the little changes we'll make over here. So now we have done all this also. And over here also, just to give you a heads up, in case that you don't know whether in the future a lot of data inputs will be added, you can always create more room. So rather than selecting this entire table, you can always add more columns or more rows and columns over here. So you can always add them to your VSTACK what function, so that in the case that in the future, if data inputs are being added, they will always what reflect in your final data inputs. So that's just for heads up. It's a trick I learned recently, so it's good to share. So that's just it. So now what we will do is to now what bring in our pivot tables to enable us analyze this data. So to do that, let us also create a new sheet for it. So let us create a new sheet and let us rename this sheet to what? To the pivot tables. So pivot tables. Over here, you can simply make it what? Analysis. So let's make it the pivot tables. So over here, we will simply select any place or any cell in a what? In the table over here. Then go into the insert tab. Going to the insert tab, we'll simply click on it. Then as you can see under the tables group, you can see the pivot table. We'll simply click on it. Then since our data or the data we want is from a table or from this range, we'll simply select from table or range. Then it is asking for, do you want it on a new worksheet or an existing one? We've already created that worksheet we want. So we'll simply click on existing, right? So it is asking for the location. So where do we want this pivot table to be? So let us now go and give it a specific cell to be. So we'll simply select cell B3, then press enter, then simply click on what? OK. So as you can see, our pivot table has appeared over here and it has summarized our data into what headings for us to make some quick analysis. So the first thing we like to know will be, let us bring in the waste item. So these are the waste item, and let us know the number of times it was collected within a month. So as you can see, this data inputs has appeared over here. So let us rename this. So we want it to be the waste item. Let us quickly rename it to the waste item. Then over here also, I don't want it to be the sum of number of times. So let us simply get rid of that. So number of times collected within a month. So if you have to simply click on OK, as you can see, the pivot field name already exists. Yes, really, it already exists. So I'll simply click on OK. And another trick I recently learned was from my online training hub. Let's simply trick the system a bit. So after this, let's simply bring in a space. So let's simply bring in a space and click on OK. And as you can see, it appears over here. A good trick, right? Thank you, my online training hub. Obviously a good channel. So there is it. So the number of times the waste was collected within a month. So the next thing we would like to analyze. So let's simply click to select this one, but first let's get rid of the grand totals, this totals over here. So as you can see, whenever your pivot table is selected, these two tabs, or whenever your pivot table is created, these two tabs appears: the pivot table analyze and the design, where you can simply make some adjustments to your table. So using the design tab, I'll simply get rid of the grand totals by coming over here, and I want to off it for rows and columns. So as you can see, my grand totals have been gotten rid of. So let me simply select this entire pivot table again, copy it, then let me bring it down over here and paste it so that I can create a new data out of it. Obviously, you can always go back to your totals and insert new pivot tables, but that's a whole lot of stress. I used to do that though until I learned it. So the next details I want to be the weight, obviously. So I don't want the weight 1, weight 2. Obviously, the total weight gives me the entire thing. So I'll simply click on the total weight. So the total weight of it all. But note, this pivot table, it gives you the totals, like the general summary of the whole year. So in the case that you want it for monthly, you can always do that, and we'll do that shortly. So there is no need to panic. I'm glad we didn't panic. I'm glad Hermione pays attention in her biology. So the next thing we like to analyze, or the next detail we like to analyze, will be, so first let's trick the system again. Let's rename this, not the sum of total. Let's trick the system again. Let's bring in the space bar. Let's bring in a space and click on OK. So the total weight. So let's select this thing again, copy, and let's paste it. Let's paste it down over here. And note also, whenever you are creating your pivot table, always be sure they don't overlap. I'm putting them right beneath each other because there isn't much. These are all the data, they are only 5. But in the case they are more, obviously you have to give more space for your pivot table so that they don't overlap. So over here, the next details I would like to talk about will be so not the total weight, but the rank, right? The rank of it, and also the number of times it was collected within a month. So over here, there is an analysis I want to make with these two so that we will know per the rank the number of times it is being what collected. Okay, so let's make this little adjustments to it. So let's simply do that. Trick the system a bit. Okay, so let us move on and continue with our analysis. Let us copy it. Then over here, I will paste it over here. Let me simply paste it over here. And over here also, the analysis I want to make will be, let me simply get rid of this waste item and also the total waste. I want to now bring in the what? The status. I want to the status and it's what is index. So I want to now compare which of these waste, sorry, okay, obviously we'll change the status. Let's first change the heading, the status. So obviously we want to know which of these status are we generating more. Is it partial, is always collected partially, or they are always overfilled? So we want to know which of these status is bringing in, or which of, so what we want to know is which of these waste is what giving out more. So let's get rid of this 0 over here since we don't need it. So, and as you can see, it goes way overboard the 100% mark. So let us correct that. So we'll simply select, then right click on it. Then over here, what we want to do is to show values as what? We want to show the value as what? The percentage of the grand total. So as you can see, it has now given us the percentage of the grand total. So if you have to add them up, it gives us what? The actual 100%. So as you can see, if you have to look carefully, our waste is always and almost what overfilled because what is index is what 37.9%. So we have to find out which waste item is doing that so that we can rectify the generation index as time goes on, obviously. So now we've gotten these details. There is a little to one or two we would like to add. So let's copy this and simply paste it over here. So let's paste this over here. Then over here, we would like to get the totals. So let's bring in the total weight, the amount paid, right? So the total weight, the amount paid, and also the next thing will be the total weight, the amount paid. I think that will be it for now. And the number of bins, no, okay, not this. Okay, and the number of times collected within the month. So these are the totals we would like to add. Obviously, we'll bring in the number of bins, but the number of bins we'll use a little trick over here because if you have to select the number of bins and if you have to come, as you can see, it's 60. So it's adding each and every one of the bins for each and every item, then it is multiplying it by the number of months, which is not so let's obviously change the headings also. We can simply maintain it since it's not a detail we would be using on our dashboard. We just need the money, the figures, sorry, we just need the figures, the money. Yes, so let's get rid of that. I believe you are appreciating what you are doing. You can always ask, or in case I'm moving too fast or you don't get anything, you can always leave a comment behind to let me know what you are not getting. And always, as usual, kindly hit the like and subscribe button to support the channel, to keep us going. Thank you very much for that. So now let us be the system again. Let us use this simple trick. So let's select this one, copy it, and let's paste it over here. Let's paste it over here. So now, like I said, since we are analyzing the data or this whole thing for the month, for our waste bin, we will use the month, then it's what corresponding number of bins over here. So as you can see, each month gives us what the actual number of what of bins allocated for each and every item. So 5 for the month, 5 for each and every month. So this is how we beat the system. So obviously over here, if you have to bring in the grand totals, and if you have to bring in a grand total, it obviously gives us what 60, but that's not the data we want. We want it at 5. We want it to be 5 since the data analysis is only what 5. So now these are the data we want to analyze. So to proceed, let us bring in the almighty dashboard. So to do that, let us add one last sheet to it. Let us rename it to our dashboard. So we'll simply do that dashboard, press enter. Then over here in our dashboard, let us get rid of the grid lines. So to do that, let's move to the view tab. So we'll go to the view tab. Then let's get rid of the grid lines. As you can see, they show let's get rid of the grid lines. The grid lines has been gotten rid of. Then the next thing to do, obviously we can always change the entire background color by simply selecting the entire sheet. Then we can simply change the background color, but I would like to have it as this. So I'll simply change the color to ash, or is it gray? Oh, I think it's ash, gray ash over. I think it's ash bone, solo level it. So with this, so now I would like to bring in my heading for it. So I'll simply select this entire cell over here. Obviously, you can always include a shape over here, but I would like to have it as a cell. So I'll simply select the entire cell and let's merge it. Then over here, what I want to add is the dashboard for the waste collection tracker. So the dashboard for, is that how we spelled it? So dashboard for waste collection tracker. All right, press enter and let's make some few adjustments. Let's obviously zoom in. So oops, we got it wrong with the spelling. Let's correct that. So over here, you can always use the F2 key to always make your corrections, or you can double click on it, or you can always select it and then move to the formula bar to make the corrections. So dashboard for waste collection tracker, obviously we are right now. Let's make this necessary changes also. Let's zoom in a bit again. Okay, and now let's add some form of images, for us to appreciate that we are talking about what waste. So to do that, let's go to for us to know we are talking about waste. So to do that, let's go to the insert tab, then let's go to pictures. So place over cells. I want it the stock images, or I don't want any copyright. So let's simply go to the stock images. Let's simply go to the stock images. Let's move up and let's go to icons and simply select maybe recycle. Let's type recycle and see what it will be giving to us. So this is what has been given to us. Which one should we choose? All right, let's choose this one and simply click on insert. Then as you can see, it has appeared over here. So let's select this. So let's make the necessary adjustments. Let's see. Okay, let's resize it a bit. Let's resize it a bit. All right, and bring it over here. Then now, holding down the Control Shift, we can simply select and drag it to the very end so that we will duplicate it over here. All right, so that it maintains its original or its edited features. That's the size and everything. So you can always do that. And if there is changes you like to make, you can always do this. As you can see, the fill. I don't want that. I want, oops, sorry. Control Z to undo that. All right. Let me simply bring it a bit close to it. Then So then now the next or the first detail we would like to bring over here will be what our totals. So our totals over here, let us create or let us bring in some shapes. So let's bring in the shape. So I'll simply come to the insert tab again, then under the illustrations group, I'll simply click on shape and I want the shape in this style. So as you can see, the symbol has changed. Let us draw it. So let us simply draw it. Then let us make the necessary changes over here. So let us give it a no fill. First, let's type it. Sorry. Let's type. So over here, I want the total amount paid. Total amount. Oops. Total amount paid. You can't see, right? I can't see myself. So let's correct that. Let's select the entire thing using Control A. Then let's come to shape format. The text fill, let's make it black. All right. So now I can see, you can see we are all good to go. Let's bolden it, italize. Let's center it a bit. Then now let's change the font. This is the font. Yes, let's simply change the font. I want the Cambria as usual on the Cambria. Then, okay, let's okay, I want the camera, I want to center it. Okay, and now let me just resize it a bit. Okay, this is okay. So the total amount paid. Then now let me just oops, let me just copy. No, let me just resize, let me just shift it a bit. And now holding down the Control Shift, let me copy this. Okay, let me duplicate them, soft life, easy. All right, so now the total amount paid, the next thing over here will be, let's bring in the number of what? The number of bins. Obviously, for each month, it will display for each and every month. So in the case that as each month goes on, there is an addition of waste bins added, then it will reflect over here if a month is what selected. So that's how the trick works, Maybe in the future we would create a whole new thing. So over here, let us add the total weight. So we like to know the total weight. So obviously over here also it gives us what? The weight. Then the last thing over here will be the number of times the waste has what? Been collected. So total number of times waste as total number of times collected. Let's simply make it collected. Well, over here you would appreciate this more if you are in the health and safety sector where waste segregation is very key. So waste segregation is very key during auditing, the EP and all those stuff. You always hammer on that point if you are in the health and safety section, and also it's very paramount, or it's very much in the oil and gas sector where safety is very key. So all these things are very essential, and also it helps in recycling. It helps make recycling easier. So if you are looking to enter the health and safety sector, this will obviously be of help to you some way. So now we have all these things down. So let's introduce a text box so that we can bring in our data over here. So to do that, let's go to the insert tab again. Then moving to the text group, we can come to the text box and let's simply draw a text box over here. Let's draw a text box over here. So since this is manual, so let's draw a text box over here. Then over here, let me simply copy. Let me simply do this. Let me simply do this. So over here, I would like to bring in the money, but I would like to insert another shape. So I will simply insert another shape. So I would like this shape under the rectangles. I would like this shape. Let me simply draw it over here. Let me change its direction. Okay. All right. This is okay. And let me change the color. Let me change the color to yellow. All right. And resize it a bit. Let me also resize this a bit also. Okay. And over here, let us insert what a symbol or an icon for it. So let's go to the stock images again. And over here, let us simply type in, oops, where is it? Let us icon, we want an icon. Let us simply type in revenue. Let's see revenue, the kind of options that will be made available. Okay, so let's simply select this one, click on insert, then let's bring it over here. First, let's resize it a bit. Let's resize it. Let's, okay, bring it over here. All right, then now let's now bring in our what? Let's now bring in our information or our data. So over here, we'll simply bring in the equal sign, then moving to our pivot table, where is our total amount? This is where it is. So over here, if you are to select the actual cell where the amount is found in the pivot table, it won't appear. So to beat the system, you will simply select the cell below it. And if there is an empty cell, you can simply select the cell right next to it or in front of it. But let's select the cell below it. Then over here, rather than pressing enter, we'll simply change the row number. So we'll simply get rid of it. So which row is it found? So row 16. So we'll do more of like an indirect referencing. So row 16, and we'll simply press enter. So as you can see, your amount has appeared over here. So let us simply make some changes to it. So let's select the entire thing. So let's bold in it. Oops, let's bold in, italize. Let's increase the font size a bit. And let us now bring it. Okay, so let's bring it here. So increase the font again. All right, I think this is okay. All right, so now we've done this. I think the font, okay, this is okay. So now let us select this entire shapes over here and group them together so that in case we want to make any editing, it won't affect each of them. So let's right click on it, then go to the group and group them together. So over here, if you have to move one, as you can see, they all move together. So that's obviously something for or food for thought. So let's also change the shape format. Let's change the shape format over here. The shape effect, let's change the shape effect. Okay, let's change the shape effect to this. So let's have the effect in this form. And also over here also, let's now make some few editing or changes over here. So over here, let's edit the shape. We don't want this shape style. So let's change the shape to, let's say, a rectangular one. So let's change it to this form. So let's bring it over here. All right. Okay, so over here also, just as we did for this one, let us simply reference it to equal to the number of bins. Let's go to the pivot table. So over here, like I said, since we want it for months, rather than going in for the total, and since each month has its number of bins to be 5, let us simply bring our referencing first close to the January. You can select any of these, it will work. But let us bring it to the January one. Since in the case that we are to use the slicer, if you have to select a month, they all come up to this point. So we'll select the one, or we'll select for January since it's that. So to do that, so M4, so over here, what we'll do is we'll change its corresponding column. So instead of changing the row number, is the column we will change. So let's change it to L4. So L4, and press enter. So as you can see, 5 has appeared over here. So let's simply make some few changes to it. Let's center it. So like I said, always select the first cell, since in the case there is an introduction of a slicer and you have to select 1 month, it moves to where the first one is. So always note that I made that mistake. So I obviously corrected it. It's a mistake I made. So I noticed it and corrected it. So don't make that mistake also. So let's make some few edits to it. So 5. So now let us use the shortcut and bring it over here. All right, so let's do that. Now let's bring this down, going down, down, down. All right, let me maintain this. Let me maintain this, and rather, let's make this rather. Okay, now let's bring this up. Okay, let's bring this up. all right, so that they will be perfectly what aligned. So let's bring this, and now let's change this one's referencing. So let's get rid of it. Let's bring in the equal sign and go to the pivot table total weight. So the total weight is over here. So let us simply get rid of this and press enter. So this is the total weight. Let us make the necessary changes to it. Bolding. Let us increase the font. All right. Oops. All right. Let us increase the font. So the total weight is what? 178. Let us also do same. Okay. What's the, okay, that's 24. Let us change this one too, so that at least we would have them to be 24. So that's too small. Let's maintain it. Okay, 36, and let's do same for this. Control 36, right? 36. Okay, no worries. We can always change it. So 36. It feels like an egg, an egg. Okay, and the total number of times collected also, let us make that changes. So let us come to our formula bar, bring in the equal sign, then the total number of times collected. Let's go to the pivot table. So over here also, we'll simply make the referencing and press enter 30. So let us make our changes, Control A, then let us zoom to 32, right? It's 32 and bolden it a bit. Let's bolden it. All right. So now we have these ones down. So what we'll do next now is to now bring in what we another pivot table over here. So what we'll do is to simply come over here. Let us introduce our pivot table. So let us start bringing in our main analysis. Let's copy this one. Then come to our dashboard. So let's come to our dashboard and let's place our data over here. So let's paste it over here. And over here, what we want to analyze will be the what? The waste item, right? Its corresponding rank. If I'm right, yes, the corresponding rank of the status. Then the what? Its waste what? Generation index. So we want to know which of these waste is being generated more. So we want to obviously analyze that. So let us make the few editing. So first get let us make some few. Let me see whether it will work. Control minus. Okay. Oops, it has disappeared. Let me maintain it. Or what I do is need to shift it a bit. That's all I need to do. Then let's bring all these things close over here. Don't worry, we will simply, okay, let's bring them close. All right, but first let's make the editings to this, then we can make so the rank. So let's bring in the total rank of the status. So let's do that. And also over here also, let's get rid of this. Over here also, instead of waste generation index, why not simply make it the WGI? What do you think? Soft life, huh? Easy. So let's get rid of this whole long thing and simply bring in the waste generation what index, the WGI. Okay, and simply click on OK. But as you can see also over here, as you can see, my data has been lost now. So we can let's simply correct that. There's no need to panic. Excel is fun. Okay, so now as you can see, this one also goes overboard the WGI percent, the wage generation index percent. So let us at least show the values as what the percentage of what grand total. We want the total to be in 100%, actually not over 100%. So if you are to carefully analyze this data, what really the waste we are really generating now will be the organic waste. So if you are generating it more, then it means something must be done to it. So over here also, let us make some few editing to it. So with this, what we'll do is, but first let us bring this a bit down. So let's select it and let's bring it a bit down so that we can give a heading or a title to it. So the waist generation index, let us change the heading style. So let's give the heading style at least a bit of, okay, let us bolden and italize the heading, and let us also, can I wrap it up? Can I wrap it up? Let me try wrapping it up and see. Okay, I think this is okay. So let's wrap it up. It distorts my data input. Oops. Nope. It is not. All right. So let me at least bring this a bit here. So let me simply get rid of my field list. So now with this, as you can see, even though it's good we brought it here, let's give it a form of visual representation. So let's introduce the conditional formatting so that at least it gives it a bit of condition that if it is more, at least it gives it that what, that form of bars, yes, that form of column bars. So if it's increasing, goes up and down, you get what I mean. So let's use the data bars to do that. So with the total rank, let's give it a bit of a, oops, first let's select it, let's select the entire thing, sorry, go to the conditional format. So it is under the styles group, still under the home tab. So conditional formatting, we go to the data bars, and over here let us select the what, the green color or the red color. Let's select the red color for the total rank, and also for the waist generation index, let us select green, so the green lantern. So let us select the green color, and over here let us sort them out from the largest, or is it from the smallest to the largest? I still can't wrap my head around this. Ascension, descension, ascending, descending, yeah, ascending, descending. So from smallest to, nope, let's change it to from largest to smallest rather. So as you can see, this is the waist that we are generating more, like I said earlier, the organic waste. So as you can see, its rank is what is more than what, its rank is more, so its generation is also more. So we are generating more organic waste. So now let us now introduce the heading I was talking about. So we can always go to the insert tab, do the blah blah blah, but let us simply duplicate this one. As you can see, easy. If you're able to wrap your head around Excel, using it every day will make you happy. Excel, if you put it or have the notion that Excel is a programming, software, and it will help using it a bit more easier for you. So now what we are doing is comparing the waste item, the total, the waste item with its rank, the waste item with rank, with its rank, and and the waste generation index, and the generation index. So the generation index, so let's bring in the percent. So this, what this data over here is telling us. So it's always good to give it a heading, like my boss said, so that if someone is to pick it up, the person wouldn't need to always come to you and ask, what does this particular data represent? So that's just it, by the way. So now we are done with this and moving on. The next thing, oops, let's make some little slight adjustment over here. All right. So now what we would like to add next will be the slicer. So let us include our slicer. So with our pivot table selected, let's go to the pivot table, analyze, and let's simply insert the slicer. And the slicer, all what we want it to give us will be the month, since our data analysis or the data we want to analyze will be monthly. So as you can see, our pivot or our slicer has appeared. So let us send it over here. Let us send our slicer over here. Then let us resize it a bit. So over here, you can always use these signs or these things available over here to do that. So I don't know what the name is actually. I think it's the zooming out, zooming in, something. Yes. But as you can see with the slicer appearing, this slicer tab appears. So obviously let us reduce the width. So we can always reduce the width. So let us reduce the width a bit. Okay, let us bring it close. Okay, and let us now bring it down. Just bring it down. Okay. All right. So as you can see, our slicer, there is a bit of changes over here, January, February, March, July comes over here. So I'll just maintain it as such. If you find a way around it, you can always let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for that. So let's change the style of the slicer. So I want it to be in this style. So I'll simply select it. Then obviously, let us bring this a bit closer. Let's see whether it doesn't distort our data. Okay, so let us have it a bit closer. And now, let us now bring in another data or another detail. So to do that, let's go to our pivot table. And the next thing we like to bring in will be this very data. But we don't want to simply bring it in like that. Let us bring in what a kind of visual representation. So let us analyze it using the bar what the column chart or the bar chart. So I would like for it to be in a bar form. So I would like for it to be in this format so that I can analyze it. So I'll simply select it and click on OK. Then let's get rid of these filled buttons over here. So I'll simply right click on it. And let's go to hide all buttons on the chart. So let's get rid of this since obviously we'll be giving it a title. So we have we have our status over here. Then we have our percentages over here also. So let us give it a heading. So our heading will be the wage generation index. The wage generation index for what? So in percentage for the status, for the corresponding status for the, so which of these status is being generated more? So the wage generation index what for the status. So let us make the necessary adjustments to the headings. So bolding, italize, let me change the fonts. Or the font, you can have any font you want. I simply want it in this font style. That's why I always change it. So let me decrease the size of the font. So obviously, I want to get rid of the grid lines, so I'll simply get rid of the grid lines using this plus sign that appears anytime your chart is selected. So now I think I'm okay with it. So I'll simply, but first, let me first sort these things out. So I want to sort them out also. So from largest to smallest. So as you can see, I've sorted them out also. So I'll simply cut it, Control X to cut it, then come to my pivot table and let me simply paste it over here, Control V to paste it. So I'll simply paste it below over here. Then let me do the necessary resizing. So I'll simply resize it a bit. Okay, so I'll simply resize it. Let me bring it down. All right, so I'm done with this also. So let me simply select January and see. So as you can see, if I'm to select each and every month, the only data that changes is what? This one over here, since it was the pivot table I used in what creating my slicer. Don't worry, we will link our slicer to each and every one of them. So there is no need to worry. So now let's continue. Let's bring in and add the remainder of our data. So the next data we would like to bring over here will be, where is it? Will be the waste item and the number of times it was collected in a month. So over here also we like to use a chart, and over here I don't know why I like to use the donuts chart. So I'll simply click on the pivot chart and select the pivot pie. So the pie chart, sorry. And over here, instead of this actual pie, I simply like to select this, but this donut pie. So I'll simply select it and click on OK. So as you can see, it has appeared over here. Let's get rid of these filled buttons over here also. And over here, let me get rid of this. So over here, the heading. So the total number of times what collected. That's for each and every waste item. So let's make the necessary adjustments as quickly as possible. So let's get rid of this. So I believe so far you are appreciating what we are doing. In the case that you still don't get anything, you can always let me know. So just so you know, this was something I created out from scratch. So it was my own idea. So in the case that you also have something you would like to add, you can always let me know in the comment section. Thank you very much. So let's send the legend to the very bottom of it. So the legends, let's bring it to the bottom. but this is not how I want it to be. So rather than bringing in the legend, I want to get rid of the legend rather. So let's get rid of the legend. Then let's introduce what we call the data labels. So I will simply bring in the data labels rather. So let me do it like this. So I want to call out the data, so that anytime they are to pick it up, the plastic waste, it gives this number of times. As you can see, it's in a percentage form, and that's not what I want. I don't want it in a percentage form. So with this, I will simply go to more options and come over here, over here also, and simply click on the label options. So over here, I don't want it in a percentage form. I want it in in just a value form. Let me bring in the value key, so that at least it brings in that point that I'm talking about this. So now the total number of times collected. So I have my plastic weight, as you can see, the number of times 6, general waste 7, the metal waste 5. So I'm okay with this. So I'll simply cut it again. So I'll simply cut it, sorry. And let me go to the dashboard and simply paste it right over here. So let me paste it right over here. Then let me resize it. First, let me get rid of this. Sorry, let me get rid of this. Let me resize it a bit. So I'll simply resize it. Okay, simply resize it. Okay, and now the next detail, or the next data I would like to bring will be, or the next detail we should bring will be the total weight. And over here also, let us compare it in let us compare it using the pie chart. So over here also we'll introduce the pie chart. So we'll go to the pivot charts, and over here let's use the pie. Actually, this one will use this pie, but instead of just this simple pie, let us use the 3D form. 1D is over 2D. No, let's use this 3D pie. Simply click on OK. And over here also, just as we did for the donut pie, let us simply get rid of all this. Let's get rid of the legends also and introduce the data labels. Let us introduce this and let us call it out. So there is the form we would like to have it. And over here also, let us simply rename it to to the total weight. So the total weight, so in kg, right? So the total weight in kg. Let us simply make the necessary changes to it. So let's bold in, italize. Let's change the font style, and let us, okay. So that's it. Over here also, if you would like to separate it, you can always separate them. Let's maintain it that way. Let me cut it. Let me send it to my pivot or my dashboard, and let me paste it over here also. So let me simply paste this. Okay, so let me paste it and let me do the necessary resizing. So over here, it becomes visually, it is being able to, or we are able to visually represent them over here because we have made some data input. In the case that there is no data input or there are no data, obviously these ones will appear as blank. So you can always create something without any data. Just test your theory with some few figures or inputs to make sure it's working, because obviously different people will be using it who have different kind of data input also. So always note that, sorry. All right, so now we have included all this. So now we have the waste generation index for the status. We have the total number of times the waste was collected, the total weight also. And as you can see, this one appears in percentage again. So let's get rid of that. So to get rid of that, let us simply select it. Sorry. Let us simply correct that. So let's just correct that. Instead of the percentage, what we want to be a value. So yes, and let us give it a legend key, legend of the seeker. Oh yes. All right, so let's close this down. Okay, and let us resize this a bit. And now let us bring this up so that at least you can see general waste we are talking about. Okay, general waste. All right, so now we have it over here. As you can see, they are all being called out. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so now we have all this down. And the last thing we would like to introduce will be the number of times it was collected and its corresponding rank. So this is the last detail we would like to introduce. And over here also, we would like to introduce the column graph. And over here, since we are comparing two data relative to each other, let us use the 3D stacked column. So we use this, and over here, let us, or I should use this one. Let me see which one is good. Let's use this one. Simply click on OK. As you can see, it has appeared over here. Let us hide all these field buttons over here. And also with this one, let us simply bring the legends down a bit. Let us bring the legends over here. First, let's get rid of the grid lines. Let us put the legends at the top. Okay, let us put the legend at the top. And let us give it a chart title. Okay, let's have the legend at the bottom rather. Let me see. I'm trying to experiment a bit. Okay. All right, let's change the chart title to the total rank. So the total rank. It's always good to have a heading. The total rank and number of times waste collected. So we are comparing two data or two details together. So let's do that. And always, like I said, it's always good to give a heading or a title to the kind of information you are giving out. So over here also, let's get rid of this as is title over here. So let us get rid of, is it horizontal or vertical? Let's get rid of the vertical one. And let us give it a data label also. So instead of a data call out, we don't want a data call out. Let us give it this. As you can see, you can see the numbers over here. So let us make the very necessary corrections to it. So let us select it. As you can see, the first one has been selected. Let us give it a solid color. Instead of black, let us give it a white one. As you can see it now. Then let us give it a legend key so that at least it can call it out a bit. Then let us do the same thing for the ones over here for the number of times collected within a month. So let us also give it a bit of a fill color, solid fill and white. Okay, and let us give it a legend key also over here. And as you can see, it's too big of a box. So let us at least make some necessary adjustments to the gap width. Let us at least decrease the gap width a bit. All right. Okay, so I think this is okay. And I think this is okay. All right. And over here also, I would like for us to make, Control Z. Let me see whether I can test this entire thing and simply bring it here rather. Okay. So as you can see, I have changed the format in which it is in now. So the rank of the status is rather this, and the total number of times collected is this, because obviously the rank will always be more than the number of times collected. So I like it that way. So I'll simply paste it over here. So let me simply paste it over here. Then, as usual, let's make some necessary adjustments to it. All right, then bring it down. Okay. So far, what do you think? Is it very nice? You can always let me know. So now we are done with this. We are done with the representation of our data. But then there is one little problem over here so far with this our very chart, because in the case that someone is to pick it up and these numbers keep changing. So let's say the number of times collected obviously is self-explanatory, but with the rank, if it is to change, how would they know what is going on over here? So obviously, let us introduce some kind of details for it so that if the very data is to change for each and every month, this data, since it is a data we are analyzing for every month, as it changes, let's get rid of this. Let's delete it. As it changes for each and every month, these details over here reflect over there for them to know what is going on currently. So what we will do is to introduce a shape that will highlight the rank with its what, the rank number with its what corresponding status. So I'll do that quickly and get back to you. Okay, so this is the data input I was talking about. So in the case that it is to change manually and the rank remains at, let's say, 5, if person or someone is to pick it up, you'll be like, oh, okay, in this month it was both fully filled or not. So this the kind of representation I want. So let us now give it a title. So let us give it a title. So let's simply Control Shift and drag this one down a bit. Let's bring it down. Let's simply bring it down over here. Okay, and now let's change it. So what we'll do is the waste status, right? The waste status, oops, the waste status and its rank, right? So this is the kind of details we would like to give out to the people or to anyone who is going to be using this. So first, let's get rid of this outline over here. So let's get rid of the outline. So let's get rid of it. Okay, let's do same for these ones also. Oops. Let's get rid of all the outlines. Let's simply use the shift, select, 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 select. Let's simply get rid of all the outlines. Okay, all right. So now we are done with this. And now let's do the very last thing over here with our analysis. Let us now introduce what, or let us now link our slicer to each and every one of this. And so to do that, we'll simply select our slicer. Let me simply drag it so that the person will know we are talking about the month. So let's simply select our slicer. Then let's right click on it. And as you can see, report connections, simply click on report connections. And if you have to look carefully, only this pivot table, the pivot table 9 has been selected. So let's check the remaining ones. So check the remaining ones. So let's simply check them. So simply check this, and come and check this also, and simply click on what? Okay. So now, if you have to simply click on January, as you can see, our entire data will be what? Will be changing. So let's simply April. So as you can see, and December, as you can see, since there is no data input as at December, as you can see, everything remains what? Blank. And as you can see, what? The number of bins still remains at what? At 5. But let's test this also. So in the case that we are to move, to, let's say, December, right? And change the number of bins. So let's say as time went on, we change the number of bins for waste or the organic waste to be, let's say, 2, and simply click on it. If you have to come to our dashboard, it won't reflect over here, but let's first refresh it. Over here also, we'll create a little magic over here. So let's first refresh it. But as you can see, it doesn't reflect over here in the number of bins. But note, we are analyzing our data monthly. So if you have to simply click on December, as you can see, it reflects over here in the number of bins. So that's just it, by the way. That's just a little trick over here. So now we are done with our dashboard for the waste collection. But there is a little challenge. In the case that someone who is a beginner or a novice in Excel picks this up, and let's say after making data inputs, he is excited, or he or she is excited to know what's going to happen in the dashboard. As soon as he comes here, he still sees the same data. He asks himself, what is he going to do to now know the data he has been inputted, how it will reflect over here. Now he has to come to you, the expert, so that you teach him to go to the waste item, go to pivot, analyze, click on refresh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. So what we'll do over here will be to make things simpler for him. Like my boss said, you have to make things self-explanatory. So what we'll do is to now include the macro again. So let's include the macro over here. So to do that, let's bring this down also. So let's bring this down. Okay. let's shift this here a bit. Oops. Let's shift this here a bit. Okay, and now let's include a shape. Let's insert a shape. So we'll insert a shape over here. So let's insert the shape over here also, or let's simply get rid of this Control Z. Okay, all right. So what we'll do is to simply copy this shape, Control Shift, then let's select it and paste it and bring it over here. And now over here, let's rename it to refresh. Let's simply rename it what? Refresh. So refresh, you fresh. So let's simply rename it to refresh. Then over here, we would insert or we'll include what we call a macro. So what we'll do is to simply select this one. So the one with the pivot table. Then we'll come to the view tab. So the view tab, will come to the view tab and go to what? Macros. The last end, as you can see, macros. So let's simply click on macros and go to record macro. Then let's rename our macro to what? Refresh. So let's simply rename the macro to refresh. Then over here, you can always use a shortcut key, but no, we've created a kind of icon or a kind of tab for it. So, or a kind of button for it. So we'll simply maintain, we won't put any key here. We'll simply click on OK. And as soon as I click OK, my macro will be recording behind the scenes. So I'll simply click on OK. And as you can see, you can't see that my macro is recording, but it is recording. So I'll simply click on Pivot Table Analyze and simply click on what? Refresh. So after that, I'll simply come to the view tab again, go to my macro and stop recording. So now my macro has recorded. So what the macro recorded was every time I click on refresh, something needs to happen. So what I'll do is to simply right click on this button over here. Then I will assign my macro. So as you can see, since I have other macros, as you can see, they appear over here. The title of my macro is what? Refresh. So you simply select the refresh and it comes macros in all open workbooks. Always note this. I made that mistake and it affected some previous work I was doing with macros in them. So always click and always choose this workbook. So macros in this current workbook we are working in, and we'll simply click on what? OK. So as you can see now, anytime we have to hover around this, the icon changes to what? A hand. So if you have to simply click on it, as you can see, nothing has happened because there is no data input, right? So now let's test our theory again. Sorry if you're taking too much of your time, but we need to get it done. So now let's say the total weight. Okay, let's change the rank. Okay, let's change this to overfilled. Okay, they are all in overfilled already, but let's change it to, let's say, overfilled both times, right? Overfilled both 9. Okay, and let's change it overfilled both times again, 9, and the last one overfilled both times. Okay, and now let's change the amount to, let's say, 500, because that's a whole lot of waste. So as you can see, now a new data input has been made. But if you have to go to our dashboard, note 500, if you have to go to our dashboard, nothing seems to happen. If you have to, it happened for what? For January, right? So let's come to dashboard, let's come to January. As you can see, it's still what? 350. So now, as soon as we click on this button, let's see what happens. So as you can see now, you see the data input has changed. So this is what the macro simply does. So let's simply now get rid of the filter. So now we have done that for our macros. So we have now simply, or we are done with our with our dashboard. So let me simply change the effect of this. I want it in a style. Okay, I want it in this style. So let me simply change it to this. Okay. So the waste status and it's what? It's rank, partially filled, fully filled. So you can always do that. Then after I created this dashboard, my boss was, not everyone will know that if you have to click on this and come and click over here, the things what will give you the total. So why not create another macro so that rather than clicking over here, then you come and click over here. The macro will simply, as soon as you click on the macro, it resets back to what? To the total. So to do that, let me simply bring it down. All right. Then, all right. And let me simply change this title to over here. Or what I will type is click, right? Click, clack, heels tap, click for total year. All right. So click for total year. So all what I'm trying to say is I'll record the macro. So view, let me record the macro and let me record it. So over here, I'll name it total, and this workbook, and click on what? Okay. So what I'm trying to say is as soon as I click this and click this, I want what? My macro to work. So I'll simply do that. I'll stop recording. But then again, if I'm to do that, let's test this macro. So let's right click, then assign the macro, and simply click on total and click on OK. Okay, so now let me click on match, and now let me click on. As you can see, the macro first checks out on January before it refreshes the entire thing. So now that's not what I want. So what I will do is let me first get rid of this macro. So the total, let me delete it. So I'll delete this macro. Do you want to? Yes, I want to delete it. So now let me select January 1st. Then over here, I'll come back to my macro again. Then I'll record the macro. I'll record it. Then, so as you can see, I've now selected January already. So I'll simply change it to total and click on OK. Then all what I need to do is to simply click on this filter button again. And as you can see, it has been filtered. And I'll come to my macro and stop recording it. So now let me now link it again. So let me now assign my macro. So I'll assign it to the total, to this workbook, and click on OK. So now if I'm to select April, as soon as I click on it, as you can see, it automatically refreshes without going through anything. So the macro, it records the step-by-step of everything you actually do. So always note it down when you are recording your macro. Always plan it out before you start recording your macro. So that's just it. By the way, let's make some necessary adjustments to these ones also before we sign out. Sorry if my dashboard is not attractive. So now let's simply get rid of this headings over here, since now we don't need the heading. So we'll simply get rid of the heading, because now our macro takes care of the filter for us. So we don't need the filter button again over here. So this is our month. So this is our dashboard for the waste collection tracker. And anytime there is a data input, it simply affects everything in our dashboard by simply clicking on the refresh. But I said something. In the case that obviously someone is to come over here to see what's happening, the person doesn't actually need to do anything over here. So over here, let us simply lock this up so that no data input over here would work. And there is a mistake I made previously where I included my pivot tables also over here in these totals. And if you have to lock it up and make some form of data input, it doesn't really reflect it. So obviously, it's always good to separate your totals from where your pivot tables are in case you want to lock it up. So let's simply protect the sheet. So I'll protect it. So I'll simply use the 0. You can use any form of password you want. So I'll simply use the 0, click on OK, re-enter password 0 again, click OK. So over here, someone is to come and press 1. As you can see, the cell or chart you are trying to change in is on a protected sheet. So that's what I mean by that. So I'll simply click on OK, then come to the pivot tables. So now we are literally done with our dashboard for the waist tracker and our waist tracker also. So now let's change the color also. Let's see which color is nicer. This. Okay, as you can see, it's on a protected sheet. So let's first unprotect it and make that changes. So 0, click on OK. Yes, because we are trying to change the color for this one also, and since it's protected, you can't make that change like I said earlier. So let's change the color now. Which one? Let's change it to this, obviously. So now, as you can see, there is no error. Now let's see. All right, so now this is our dashboard for what for so now this is our dashboard for the for the waste collection. So the last thing we would want to create will be the link, where we'll create a link to link all our months to one sheet and our dashboard, our totals, all to one sheet. So that we'll just have it one click away to be able to to work on them. So I'll simply do that and show you. Okay, so now this is the kind of link I was talking about. So over here, what we'll do is to simply right click on it. Then since it's a link I created, I'll edit it. So over here, what I will do is right click, then edit. Then it comes over here, place in this document. So I want it to be linked to my January. So I'll simply click on OK and simply click on OK. I'll select it and click on OK. So if I'm to simply click on it, as you can see, it comes to my to my January. I can also link it to my dashboard also. So I'll simply right click on it, then edit the link, then also place in this document. I want it to be linked to my dashboard. I'll click on OK. So if I'm to simply click on it, as you can see, it has directly come to my to my dashboard. But what if I want to also go back? I can always also insert a shape. So let me insert a picture rather, place over cell stock. So over here also, oops, where is it? I want an icon. I want the home button. So the home, or let me use the arrow. Let me see whether I can get an arrow. Press enter. Okay, I have an arrow. So let me simply select this one and click on the insert. Then where will it appear? Over here? Right, it has appeared over here. Nice. So I'll simply resize it a bit. I'll simply resize it. Then over here, I'll simply right click on it. Then go to the link. Then go to insert link. Then where do I want it to be linked to? I want it to be linked to my sheet 5, which I haven't renamed. So I'll simply link it to it and click on OK. So in the case that I'm to simply click on it, as you can see, it brings me to my sheet 5. So let me rename this to the content, or let's rename it to the content. Okay, and simply press on the tab key, or press on the enter key, sorry. So this is how you can create a waste collection tracker for your company or even your school as a student. I hope this video has been very helpful to you. If in any case you faced any challenge during the process, you can always let me know in the comment section below. And if it has been very helpful, always or kindly hit the like and subscribe button, and kindly share to help this channel grow. Thank you so much for your time once again, and see you again in my next video.